This is not okay. This is not acceptable. And for Liam, for his wife, I'm thinking about you guys. I know Liam is going to come back. He's pitched a lot better coming back after first couple outings. And yeah, you guys deserve better. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 70 of Hitting for the Cycle. I'm your host, as always, Ben Kruse, alongside my co-host, Ryan Touhey. Ryan, happy Memorial Day weekend to you, my friend. This is kind of like the beginning of summer, and you know what that means. Baseball really now is starting to kick in, so it's really, really exciting stuff, and hope you're just doing well.
Yeah, happy Memorial Day weekend to everybody who listens to our show. We really appreciate the support that you guys give us. It hasn't really felt like spring, though, for the past week. Last week, we had some pretty crappy and nasty weather, a lot of rain, low temperatures, just not necessarily the best looking weather conditions outside. But hopefully spring really starts to feel like spring as we get into the month of June, which is quickly approaching. It's right in the rearview mirror. But, yep. Baseball season is starting to heat up like the weather should, hopefully, relatively soon. So some exciting stuff to look forward to in the season.
Yeah. When you talk about the baseball season and you talk about in terms of like teams and stuff, there typically is usually like kind of that checkpoint in terms of how you kind of know how your team is. And Memorial Day kind of is like that first checkpoint. So, we're going to talk about that kind of later on in the program in terms of maybe some teams that are really starting to break away, some teams that are kind of up and down, and then some teams are just absolute and they're selling. They're awful. And just some teams that we're not surprised about. But before we get into all that stuff, as usual, make sure to follow us all of our socials right down here in the ticker bar on Hitting for the Cycle at HFTC ETB on the Empty the Bench podcast network at ETB Network. Make sure to subscribe to Empty the Bench podcast network on YouTube. Also follow Ryan Touhey at R2E97. Of course, we're right here at Ryan Stein. And then, of course, at Ben Kruse at Ben Kruse144. Also to follow us on Hitting for the Cycle at HFTC ETB. Also to follow us on YouTube at youtube.com/ETB Network. And of course, if you guys want to listen to us on the go, listen to Hitting for the Cycle, wherever you guys may get your podcasts. Also listen to Hitting for the Cycle, also presented by Playback, of course, baseball and Playback. We've done a lot of stuff on Playback recently, of course, with the NBA finals or conference finals. Congrats to your Knicks, Ron, of beating my Celtics. I know they're obviously down 0-2 right now to Indiana, which is obviously tough, and they're playing Game 3 on the day of this recording. So we'll see in terms of how that goes. I don't think that their season is over just yet, but of course we can watch the games there. Yeah, you got to start somewhere, right? And we're going to be going live tonight on the day of the recording to watch Game 3 of the Knicks Pacers. So of course you guys can watch us there. You can interact with us and watch the game. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, Hitting for the Cycle is presented by Playback, and that'll do it for all of the social part of it. And what is the first part of our show is Brandon Hyde. So Brandon Hyde, obviously, for the Orioles season, has gone off to. I thought, Ryan, we kind of talked about I think it's the Bacoa standings in terms of the overall how we felt about the Orioles coming in. You obviously expected that they're going to take a massive decline because they're pitching. You obviously lost Corbin Burns, guys like Kyle Bradish, and there's somebody else I'm trying to remember in terms of who just went down by injury. They just had a ton of injuries to their pitching, to be fair, but they brought in feels like a 50-year-old Charlie Morton.
Yeah, it was going into this season, the Orioles just didn't really do many things. We apologize, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like Ben's camera might have frozen. But yeah, so like he said, Brandon Hyde. Okay, he's back. You good?
Hear me? Okay. I hear you. I don't know what happened there, but yeah. But yeah, Zach Eflin and Yeah, their pitching was going to take a decline. I didn't expect it to be this bad though. I really didn't. I didn't even think probably you expected it to be this bad. I mean, we're talking about a team that really had a building promise with a lot of great up and coming talent. Look at guys like Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman and Jackson Holiday and just a lot of great pieces offensively. But even their offense, they're only averaging about 3 to 4 runs a game. This is obviously one of the teams that we're kind of talking about that's had one of the toughest starts. The Red Sox are playing them this weekend, currently as the day of this recording. And, this was a team of obviously last year that they gave us so much fits. This is a team that I'm just like, please, just find a way to win a lot of these games. This year, it's the complete opposite. I don't exactly know what happened. And like obviously a lot of people can say, well, it's early. It's early. Well, it's not early really right now. It's like you pretty much can kind of know what you are. And Ryan, I don't know if you have any stats specifically with Brandon Hyde in terms of his overall tenure, but overall, it was a pretty decent, overall 500 record, I think, career-wise with Brandon Hyde. I mean, he did take the Orioles to a couple of their first-time postseason experiences. However, they didn't really go too far. They obviously lost to Texas, and I'm trying to remember who.
Kansas City.
Kansas City, that's right, yeah. But they obviously, yeah, that's right. The Kansas City series that was at home, they lost that one, and then Texas was at home to start, and they just never scored. So their tenure, specifically Brandon Hyde, was good regular season type of teams, and then they would kind of flail out in the postseason. But I thought, going to those postseasons, it would just elevate them to kind of even go this making strides and stuff. Right now, there's no strides at all. I don't know exactly why that's the case. I mean, Gunnar obviously was hurt, so I'm like, all right, well, if he's down and Corbin Burns is out, maybe they can kind of get some pieces back. And I feel like Bautista came back, and it's kind of going the complete opposite direction. And since the day of this recording, firing Brandon Hyde, it's not even gotten better. It's gotten worse.
Yeah, third straight episode, we've had a manager firing to cover.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, we had Derek Shelton. Last week, we had Bud Black. And now this week, Brandon Hyde. So a lot of bad teams out there and a lot of teams looking at a scapegoat to blame for their problems. I mean, Brandon Hyde, he finishes his Orioles managerial record at 421 career wins and 492 career losses. So a little bit under 500. That's a 461 winning percentage. But, I think people need to remember Brandon Hyde came to this team in 2019, and the Orioles were a complete dumpster fire. They were just coming off the worst season in their history and one of the worst seasons in Major League Baseball history in 2018 when they went just 47 and 115. And you knew that the Orioles were going to fire Buck Showalter after that season, and they also let go of Dan Duquette after that year, and they had to completely start from the ground up. That's when Mike Elias came into town to start to revamp the farm system. And many people were curious as to who would be the skipper to lead this new new generation of ball players. So Brandon Hyde came on board in 2019. That was going to be another long season for the Orioles. Everybody knew that they were still going to be dealing with growing pains, and they really didn't have much to look forward to that year or the first couple of seasons under Brandon Hyde's tenure. Hyde's first year in 2019, the Orioles went 54 and 108. Then came the COVID season when they went 25 and 35. Then came 2021 and they went 52 and 110. So Hyde just had some abysmal Oriole teams at the beginning of his tenure, but it's what he came into. The Orioles had to obviously go through some tough times in order to get back to respectability. During those tough years, they had a lot of talent in the minors. They had high draft picks at the time. The team with the worst record had the first overall pick in the draft. So that's when the Orioles obviously were able to draft guys like Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson. And the course slowly began to blossom in the minors. And it finally came through in 2022. They took a big step up. Even though they didn't make the playoffs that year, they improved dramatically, going from just 52 wins to 83 wins. So you do the math, that's a 31 win increase right then and there. They won 83 and 79 and 22, their first winning season since 2016.
Mhm.
And then in 2023, they win the division title completely out of not many people I thought would thought that the Orioles would win the AL East in 2023 so soon after just getting back to contention. And,
Really?
Hyde did a phenomenal job. And as a result, he won AL Manager of the Year, I believe, in 2023 for his efforts. He did. And the Orioles, obviously, like you mentioned, were beaten in the American League Division Series by Texas. But, many people at that point thought the Orioles are here. They're back, and they're going to be dominant for a long time. They're going to rule the AL East for a long time. And, last year in 24, the Orioles, they had a good year. They won 91 and 71, but, that kind of raised some alarms, honestly, within me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, as a Yankee fan, I didn't want the Orioles to win the American League East, so I was relieved about that, and especially that the Yankees won. But, as a baseball fan, when I saw that they only won 91 and 71, and they got swept in the wild card series by Kansas City, I just went, "What's going on here?" And I just had a feeling something was off, and that the Orioles were just trending in the wrong direction. And, sure enough, here we are in 2025. And right now, as of the time of this recording, the Orioles are sporting the worst winning percentage in the American League. It's just been astonishing just how quickly this team has fallen off. It's a lot like the White Sox, honestly. The White Sox went through so many years of bad baseball and mediocrity. And, we know the story with the White Sox. They hired Tony La Russa, of all people, to manage the team prior to the 2020 season or 21 season. I think it was 21. 21. The White Sox obviously made the playoffs in 2020 during the COVID season, and they won the American League Central Division Championship in 2021. Obviously, they were beaten by the Astros in the ALDS. But then after that, the White Sox just went right back to the cellar. And it's kind of the same case with the Orioles here. They go through all these years of bad baseball and mediocrity. They get back to contention, and their contention window lasts like 2 to 3 seasons, and here they are right back in the cellar. So it goes to show you, it's a lesson to, I think, every single baseball team. Yeah, you can build it from the ground up, but that can work from time to time. But I think no matter what, a lot of these homegrown talents, they're going to have either sophomore slump seasons. They're going to have a reality check, and they're going to face adversity, and they're going to struggle at the major league level at some point. And when that's the case, you need veterans and you need stars on your team to help pick up the slack. And it goes back to not spending money in the offseason. The Orioles ownership just did not do a damn thing this offseason. They did not go out. They did not get legitimate starting pitchers. Losing Corbin Burns obviously hurt them, and it was going to be hard to retain him for his asking price. But still, this was a new ownership group. They wanted to flip the script, and they wanted to and they were saying how the Orioles, are going to be legit contenders, and we're going to spend money, and we're going to go out and put out the best product on the field on a yearly basis. And that was all just a bunch of crap. That's basically what it's turned out to be. The Orioles have just been a disaster this year. Their pitching is abysmal, and their hitting has been abysmal as well. There's just been very little accountability going on around here. The Orioles were saying we can turn it around, but like you said, it is May 25th at the time of this recording. You can't say it's early. It's still early. We're already going to be. We're 2 months into the baseball season already. Before you know it, it's going to be June, July, and August, and then the dog days of summer, and those are when the tough times really can start to hit.
Right.
And Brandon Hyde, he turned out to be the scapegoat here. I mean, I don't know if Hyde necessarily was doing the best job managing this year. Of all the 3 managers that we've discussed who have been fired, I think Hyde probably was struggling the most to relate to his players and to make the right moves on the field this year. You can make an argument for that because the Pirates and the Rockies had no expectations going into this season. The Orioles did have expectations.
Yeah.
So, I think Hyde probably had the poorest performance of the three guys who have been fired going into this season. And, it's an unfortunate ending, because Hyde was there when this team was just down in the dumps,
Yeah,
and he resurrected them, brought them back to contention,
just for it to
and
go.
yeah, I mean, you talk about a fall from grace. I mean, good God, this is the epitome of a fall from grace. They're right back where they started almost. I mean, they weren't losing at it. I mean, they weren't losing at the pace that they were, back in 2018 or 19. But still, I mean, this is it. It's sad. It really is. I don't like the Orioles. I know you don't really like the Orioles either.
I don't care for them,
No.
I guess, but they were annoying when they were good. That's how
Well,
I
yeah.
feel about them.
But I mean, I do feel for Oriole fans, honestly,
Yeah.
because they've gone through so many bad seasons this century. It's been a tough the 21st century has not been kind to the Orioles. And they've had a couple of good seasons here and there, and they've brought up some really good players. But again, I said it with the Rockies last week. The Orioles have a similar problem like the Rockies have, and that is the inability to develop quality starting pitching. They just have not been able to do that. And that's been the primary reason why this team has just been unable to go very far. And, it rears its ugly head in the postseason. Last year, I mean, getting Corbin Burns was huge, and I thought that could really solidify the rotation. But, the offense kind of took a step back last year, and their offense has taken a massive step back this year, and so has the pitching. So it's just all over. It's just a sad situation with the Orioles, and to see them with the lowest winning percentage in all of the American League, it's a shame. It's disappointing, and it's a sad way for Brandon Hyde's tenure to end. And for what he did for that organization to bring them down from the absolute lowest of lows to winning the division in a short period of time. It was in a 5-year span. The Orioles go from losing 115 games to winning the American League East. I mean, that's a remarkable turnaround. And now it just seems like an afterthought here based on where they're at. And, I don't know where they go from here. I mean, it's sad. It's a shame. It really is.
I'm just looking at team stats around really quick as you were talking about just the fall off. Right now, they're averaging 3.8 runs per game.
Mm-hmm.
They have 56 homers, so they're within the top 15, but definitely it's a lot compared to the past years where they were up in like the top 5. You were talking about them with like the White Sox standards. They got the second worst pitching ERA in the American League. Second worst. Their team ERA is 5.61. They're giving a ton of hits. They're not stealing a lot of bases. They're 23rd in team OPS. I was looking at their OPSs, Ryan. Guess who's the number 1 OPS player on their team? And this is obviously not a knock on this player, but you would think it's Gunnar. You would think it's Adley, but it's not.
Heston Kjerstad?
Nope.
Cedric Mullins?
Nope. It's Ryan O'Hearn.
Oh, man.
The first baseman. Yeah, they're going to have to, I don't know, maybe call up some of their guys from their so-called great prospect pool. I mean, Colby Mayo maybe might be one. Jordan Westberg is on their IL. I mean, Westberg obviously is one of their top guys. And Colin Cowser.
Where the heck is he?
He's hurt. He's on the 60-day IL for them.
Oh.
So, I mean, he obviously was a big piece. They've been playing guys like Dylan Carlson and Tyler O'Neill also is down, even though O'Neill really wasn't giving them much after kind of a great start. Cedric Mullins and Ryan Malcastle, I think, are 2 guys are ready to be looked at the trade deadline because they were talking about them being moved to begin the season. So I think, like we were talking about, we can't say it's now early, right? It's basically if you pretty much kind of look at your team and then say, this is who you are. You don't also fire the manager before we get into our next topic. Also don't fire the manager if you don't know for a fact of like we're talking about scapegoats. It's like, well, what do we do now? And this is kind of what they're doing right now. So I don't know. And, as a Red Sox fan myself, playing them on the day of this recording, we got to take 3 out of 4 from this team. I mean, we had a tough one last night in the day night doubleheader. We had a game canceled. I after game 2, after being them 19-5 on Friday. It's a bad thing right now going for Baltimore, but we'll talk about them more later on in the program. We got to talk about this, though, Ryan. Jose Alvarado, the reliever for the Philadelphia Phillies, southpaw, guy throws absolutely electric, nasty stuff. And we talk about players getting suspended for a lot of reasons. And this is obviously one of the most commonality reasons a player could be getting suspended. Unfortunately, this is the common reality for some guys in which, it's a human element. Some players just basically have that human element and some don't. And this is a guy specifically that got suspended 80 games. When you have retested for PEDs, it's not a great sign. It's just for whatever reason. And I don't have to obviously go through the whole entire reason of what PEDs are, because I think most people that are athletes and know in terms of around the sports of what PEDs stand for. Alvarado was a pitcher that had absolutely electric stuff, and I think for the Phillies standpoint, this is an awful, awful look. The Phillies are a team specifically that have had a ton of bullpen woes, but one of the guys specifically that's been fairly consistent has been Alvarado, and now him being down, it's a massive punch not only for the team but just a bad look for Alvarado to be doing this.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it last month when Jurickson Profar was suspended for PEDs.
Wow.
Yeah,
it feels like forever now.
Yeah, well, that was a long time ago, but this was like the second most significant PED suspension this year. And, like I said, when it came to Profar, shame on Jose Alvarado. I mean, he tested positive for external testosterone. So, I mean, right then and there, I'm thinking to myself, what were you thinking when you did this? I'm not going to make assumptions as to why or if he knew what he was doing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it definitely is a blow to the Phillies. And the Phillies right now have been the hottest team in baseball. And, the Phillies are trying to get back to the postseason and try and get back to the World Series. And, a big reason why they haven't been able to get back to the World Series has been their bullpen. I mean, their hitting hasn't really done them any favors in recent postseasons either. But really, that bullpen has struggled significantly in the postseason. And that was clearly evident last year against the Mets in the NLDS. So, yeah, it's definitely a blow to Alvarado. He was 4-1 with a 2.70 ERA, and he had 7 saves before he was suspended. But now, he's suspended for 80 games. So, in all likelihood, he probably won't come back until, I'd say, August, the earliest, maybe, sometime around there. And, even when he comes back, damage is already done. He's not going to be able to join the Phillies if they make the postseason. So, he definitely shot the Phillies in the foot. And, he's going to have to deal with the consequences. And, I'm sure Philly fans are pissed at him, rightfully so. I know I would be. I'm sure the players and the coaches are pissed at him. And, for a guy who has been, a stable in that Phillies bullpen for about 4 seasons now. I mean, he's been there since 2022, I believe. And he has electric stuff, like you mentioned. For him to do this is just stupid. And, it definitely just hurts the Phillies going forward.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously still a name that's out there, and he's pitched for the Phillies before. And, you talk about the Phillies pitching woes. I mean, even if Alvarado comes back, right, you don't know where his mind is. A lot of people that specifically have not pitched in a long absence and for something now that probably will be effective for him for the rest of his career. When you essentially kind of have something on your resume through a bad record striving or PEDs, anything specific an athlete might have, they look at the back of their minds after a couple of years and be like, I still have to deal with this. It's like a burden, right? And so, obviously when he comes back, it's great, but like he's still going to have to fight the consequences at the end of the day. So you don't know in terms of where his mind at. I think David Robertson would be a perfect fit for them at the trade deadline. He's still out there. He's been doing great for whoever he's been pitching with the last couple of years. I still don't know why he's still out there on the market personally. But like if you need a pitcher that can just come in, it's a veteran that just knows kind of what the stuff you're going to bring, that's a guy. And I think that he would be a perfect fit for a Phillies team that, like you mentioned, is trying to get back to the postseason, and their offense. I know that obviously their offense is going to turn around. They're of course they had a tough one against the Mets last year, but they're still a very, very good team. And there's a team right now that's kind of coming on the upward, and this is actually a perfect segue to our next topic, and that is Ronald Acuna Jr., the man, the myth, the legend. I love this man. I don't know why. It's maybe because I saw him play in his last AAA game with the Gwinnett Braves, Ryan. If you actually remember the Gwinnett Braves, the AAA team of the Atlanta Braves. I remember when I was at the game for the Paw Sox, when they're actually playing at their old stadium in Pawtucket. RIP to Pawtucket. You guys are great there. But I was at this game. I remember there was so many people, and I was at the game talking about this player on the other team. And I'm like, who is it? Like, of course, you talk about a lot of players on other teams. They kept on saying Ronald Acuna Jr. Ronald Acuna. I'm like, all right, this is just kind of another name that just what it is. You think about it about 2-3 months later, Ryan, after the fact. And I'm like, okay, now I get it. Now I get it. And now, of course, he is where he is. Obviously, Ronald Acuna Jr., the great talent that he has, of course, has battled so many injuries, right? Very unfortunate injuries in the past, too. But he made his season debut on
Friday.
On Friday, and the Atlanta Braves started the season 0-7, and they are currently on the day of this recording. They took 2 out of 3 against my Red Sox, unfortunately, this past weekend. But where their record stands to compare they were at the end, I mean, to be fair, 0-7. I mean, I knew for the fact the Braves were going to turn around. They just the talent that they had. The Braves are 25-26. And if you told me that to start the year, I would have probably taken that because they were really in a tough situation to start the year. They're about a 500 team right now. But I said when Ronald Acuna can come back, right? I feel like that they can take off, especially with that offense. You're seeing guys like Matt Olson, who I obviously had in mind, who's not at one point. He's really starting to turn around after I said that. Hey, maybe if I actually say that for a lot of players and saying who's not, they'll turn it around. That was obviously one example. Of course, he starts turning around against my Red Sox, but that's another story for another day. But Ronald Acuna Jr., I mean, we talk about this, Ryan, about the term, how can you not be romantic about baseball? And I know people would say it's a corny type of thing. Ronald Acuna Jr. against my former Red Sox pitcher, Nick Pivetta, who pitched for the Padres on Friday. First pitch, you cannot script that any better. Hunting that first pitch fastball and absolutely just clobbering it. I think it was left center and just a perfect Ronald Acuna swing too. Like when Ronald Acuna hits it and just the overall just kind of follow through like that, for a fact that it's gone. And just the whole entire place in Atlanta. It's really cool too that he came back and did it right in front of his home fans. And, obviously it would have been great to see it, regardless of the fact, but doing it in front of your home fans, Friday night, Memorial Day weekend, it's like you really couldn't picture that any better. And he hit another one on the day of this recording yesterday too. So I think the Braves, safe to say, are going to be back pretty soon.
Yeah, talk about Hollywood. Acuna pulling one out of Alex Rodriguez's playbook. For those of you who don't understand that reference, in 2009, A-Rod had a serious hip injury and missed the first month of the season for the Yankees. And he returned to Camden Yards, and on the first pitch he saw, he belted a home run. So Acuna doing the same, although Acuna coming back from a much more severe injury, a torn ACL. 2 ACL injuries. And Acuna is back, and he looks as good as he did before he got hurt. 2 home runs in his first 2 games. And, he's definitely the spark plug I think that the Braves need in order to go on a run and get back to 500 and eventually start competing. So his return could not have come at a more perfect time, I think, for the Braves. And, it's good to see him back regardless. A major concern that I had was how is he going to bounce back from another ACL injury? Is he going to still be the same kind of player? Acuna has already shown that he still is the same player. And, fortunately for him, he's still pretty young. He's in his prime. And it looks like he's ready to take off and help the Braves get back to the top of the National League East. I mean, the Braves still have some work to do, and they still have 2 teams that are looking to keep them away, and the Mets and the Phillies. But, Acuna being back is huge regardless. And, hopefully he stays on the field. I mean, his injury history is always going to be a concern, I think, for the Braves and their fans. But it was great to see that. It was a really cool moment. And Acuna is just an electric ball player. He's got so many skills, and the game is definitely better when he's on the field. And when he went down last year, it was a freak injury, and it was really sad and depressing to see that, because he was just coming off an MVP season in 23 where he hit 40 home runs and stole 70 bases. So to see him pick up where he left off before he went down is truly something special, and that was a really cool moment to see.
Yeah, really cool moment to see. And like you said, baseball is good when the good athletes play and the talent plays. This is a five-tool type of player, right? He could hit, he could field, he could steal. You don't see that very often in today's MLB, and for him to come back and to do that was absolutely incredible. But what is not incredible to see, and this is obviously including my Red Sox, and just an absolute shame, Liam Hendricks was criticized by the Red Sox and the fans as he and his wife got death threats. This is not just a one-time situation that's just happened this year too. Lance McCullers got it, and I think we talked about it last week, Ryan, about Lance McCullers and the Astros players and just a lot of the fans and stuff. After he gave up 8 runs in the first inning against the Cincinnati Reds, Liam Hendricks had a fall of an outing. I think when the Red Sox were tied against the New York Mets on Wednesday, and he gave up like 2 or 3 runs, and it lost them the game. The next day after, he went to social media, and if you have it, Ryan, on your phone, if you want to obviously read it, I obviously don't have it right here pulled up, but it was basically saying to the fact of I got death threats from me and my wife about a bunch of stuff on social. Oh, here we go. I think it was right here on this Instagram story. Just as an FYI, threats against me and my wife's life are horrible and cruel. You need help. Leaving comments and telling me to commit suicide and how you wish I died from cancer is disgusting and vile. Maybe you should step back and reevaluate your life's purpose before hiding behind a screen and attacking players and their families. Whether you do it from your fake accounts or you're dumb enough to do it from your real account. I think I speak for all players who have had to deal with this in their career when I say enough's enough. And, you could obviously go the really awful route for some people that I've seen on social media and say, well, do better. It's your job. You're an athlete. But you have to also look at the human element. They're humans at the end of the day, and it's a bigger life specifically. Liam, especially his story too, to make it even matters worse of him trying to come back. That's awful. That's an awful look. It's a bad look for my organization. Jaron Duran's, of course, had a bunch of stuff already in his story, and now you obviously have something like this.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just hope that this is a learning lesson from the organization, because I love the Red Sox Nation. I love going to games. I love obviously seeing the people that rep this team, but I also have to take it to a buck and say, listen, this is not okay. This is not acceptable. And for Liam, for his wife, I'm thinking about you guys. I know Liam is going to come back. He's pitched a lot better coming back after first couple outings. And yeah, you guys deserve better.
Yeah, it's stupid. I mean, it's not just Red Sox fans. A lot of fan bases have toxic fans. I mean, hell, I my favorite team has plenty of toxic fans. So, but that doesn't excuse sending death threats to the guy. That's stupid, and those people don't have a life. So, I mean, that's despicable, and I don't really need to go into much more detail. You kind of covered the basis on that, but. Hendricks has not really been pleased with his role with the Red Sox this year. He spoke with the media a couple of days ago after that game with the Mets that he struggled in, and he wasn't happy about being taken out in the middle of the inning by Alex Cora. He prefers to, if he's going to be removed from a game, do it when the inning is over. He feels like that's kind of showing him up a little bit. I think that's what he was saying to the media. But Hendricks, he's kind of off to he's struggling a little bit right now. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, there's still a lot of season to be played, and a lot of relievers are going to go through their rough patches during the course of the season. So yes, it's tough right now. It's a tough go for Hendricks, but he's still a big part of that Red Sox bullpen. And the Red Sox are going to need him regardless, one way or the other, moving forward. He's going to have to step up, obviously, but just don't take this to the extreme. To the fans who are doing what.
And it wasn't like a massive targeted type to all the fans out there. Like you mentioned, it's just stupid. It's probably just a bunch of fans specifically that are not even real fans, to be fair. So, but I'm saying this regardless of the fact is whether you're a true fan, I'm not saying a bandwagon fan because I hate that overall term, but just a true fan that wants to stick to the overall team. You're going to go through the highs and you're going to go through the lows, but you also have to take into account that these are humans at the end of the day. And you also just have to realize that this is not okay.
No, not at all. It's ridiculous. And I just wish people would have better things to do with their lives than pretend to be something that they're not, or just be a hateful individual. There's so many better things to do with your life. I mean, I feel for Liam. He's been through a lot in his life.
That's another thing too that makes it worse. It's like you got to realize his overall type of story. He's coming back from so much stuff, from cancer.
Mm-hmm.
This guy went through cancer, so come on, this guy can do anything.
Yeah. So for people who are upset with Liam, you can be upset with his performance and leave it at that. Just be upset with how he's been pitching, and just nothing more. That's it.
I know that. I don't know if you've seen Carlos Rodon's wife, and Carlos Rodon, of course, has in the past have had a ton of blowups with the Yankees. Of course, that firsthand. But there's been so much stuff on social media, from fans to his wife about just nasty stuff.
Oh yeah.
I would say about Carlos Rodon stuff, and I'm like, is seriously gonna just do that? I understand it'd be hey, to tagging his wife on social media, be okay. Can can your husband pitch better? That it's okay, but sending nasty stuff of I don't even want to say this stuff personally on air. It's not appropriate. So, but stuff like that, just you're humans, keep it to yourself. Just understand specifically that just. That's what it is, right? Just, it's not okay. It's not okay. Hitting for the Cycle is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience, from playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/CGB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. And now back to the show. What is okay that we could talk about, Ryan, what we didn't obviously get into, obviously off the air, is our team reports.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start with my team report first because I feel like I always take it to you first. So we're going to switch it up a little bit this week. So with my Red Sox. The Red Sox, obviously, I feel like a broken record when I say that they've been inconsistent. Every single week they go up, they go down. But it's the common reality. This team hasn't shown where they've gone on an awful stretch, but they also haven't gone off to a great, great stretch. This was a team obviously coming in that had a lot of expectations of, not only competing to have a plus 500 record, but to make the postseason. And just right now, I just don't know what it is. And we talked about obviously the Orioles to begin the show in terms of it's Memorial Day. You kind of have an idea in terms of who you are. And my concern right now with the Red Sox is they've kind of had this record for the last couple of years. They haven't made the playoffs because of a couple different things that have biting them. And I thought that we were past this already. And I guess we're not. And unfortunately, we had some very, very tough news, some very promising news, and some very tough news that I talked to you off the air last night about. But since of this day for recording, the Red Sox went on a massive homestand. They played the Braves, they played the Mets, and right now, on the day of this recording, they're finishing up the last homestand day against the Baltimore Orioles for a 4-game series. So the Red Sox last weekend, Garrett Crochet and Chris Sale, absolute great matchup. Obviously, we talked about that coming in. Both guys pitched great. And that was obviously the first day that the Red Sox debuted their Red Sox City Connect green jerseys. I know, Ryan, you're not a big fan of the Green City Connect jerseys. And my other colleague of mine, shout out to you, Nick, but even though he said he's not really a big fan of any of the City Connect jerseys, I love them, obviously, because it's my team. I like it a lot better than the yellow ones. I'll be frankly honest. I like the yellow ones, obviously, for a couple different things, but just obviously all the time, it just kind of got a little old. And the green ones, you see a lot of the fans wearing it. It just feels like more of like the green, monster, of course. It's kind of all that feel. Of course, the Celtics as well, too. Crochet was dominant and that out against the Braves, but he just didn't get a lot of run support. And, Chris Sale in his return back to Boston, of course, 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, 99 pitches. Hell of a game for Chris. Hell of a game for Crochet. Sox lose 4-2. Last Saturday was probably the best win of the season for the Sox. They were down 6-2 in the top of the fourth. Lucas Giolito was throwing absolute batting practice. It was awful. And it looked like it was just going to be like, here we go again, type of thing for the Sox. But in the bottom of the seventh, they had an absolute crazy good comeback started. Rafael Devers, base hit, scored Sedon, 6-3 Braves. Alex Bregman had a double. Rafi came to score. Jaron Duran in the bottom of the eighth had a 2-run single, tied the game, and then Devers came around. All the stuff from the start of the season, couldn't hit shit. I'll be frankly honest, we talked about that actually in the video, and I knew for a fact that Rafi's just too good of a hitter to not be this bad, per se. And just the overall turnaround that he's had, hint, hint, this is going to be somebody that you might hear from who's hot, who's not. So obviously stay tuned for that. But Rafael Devers, first guy up in the bottom of the ninth inning against Pierce Johnson, got an absolute hook of a ball, and he absolutely smoked it first. First ever, Ryan. Think about it. Rafael Devers has been in his career, has never hit a walk-off home run until that overall outing last Saturday. Crazy, absolutely crazy. The fans went wild. Felt like a postseason type of atmosphere, too. I wish I was there for that, but crazy big walk-off. Sox won 7-6. But then, of course, the Red Sox do what they do is they win one and then they disappoint typically on the next one. Brian Bale in day games is a vampire. That's what we call him right around Boston. He is amazing in night games, but he's awful in day games. I don't understand it. He just doesn't go deep in day games, and in night games he's just a lot better. I just don't get that, but he was awful. Team was awful. Sox was a series 3-2. No, I'm sorry. 2 out of 3 and that. And then the Mets come into town. I was kind of worried about this one. I was actually expecting to win the Braves series and lose the Mets series. But the Mets series, the Red Sox didn't score a lot. Credit to the Mets pitching. But the Red Sox pitching was pretty good. Monday and Tuesday, Walker Buehler actually came back from his injury on Monday. And of course, no, I'm sorry, it was Tuesday. Hunter Dobbins actually pitched the first game on Monday, and he didn't go deep. The Red Sox, their pitching starting rotation has not been great the last couple of games, honestly a week. And they've had to really overtax that bullpen. So it happens. You weren't expecting the Red Sox starters to go deep every single week, but it's just been a really, really bad stretch as of late. But the bullpen's been a lot better, thankfully, for the most part. Really had kind of a tough start for this month, but been a lot better. Sox win 3-1. Tuesday, Red Sox win 2-0. Wednesday was a tough one. Lose 5-1. And I won't go too much into that. Thursday gets postponed. Friday, day-night doubleheader. Red Sox score 19 runs against the Baltimore Orioles. They were actually down 5. I think it was 5-2. Give me one second. I was actually watching the game at work. Yeah, 2-0. They were down in the third inning. Then Sogard came up in the bottom of the fourth, and it pretty much was the Red Sox from there. Rafael Devers, 2 home runs, including a grand slam. However, not great news. Alex Bregman, our guy, leaves the game after rounding first base on a double, which I knew for a fact when I saw the overall replay, I didn't see much. And then he said after the game that he felt something in his quad. And he's dealt with something like that with the Houston Astros, where he missed 50-plus games. And he said that he didn't really feel like it was severe. However, he was talking to media yesterday, and he said that he couldn't sleep, and it felt worse the next day after. So Cora obviously went to the media yesterday and said it was a severe injury, very similar to what he had at Houston. So that was kind of a damper in terms of the 19-5 victory. So obviously game 2 happened. Well, it didn't happen. It was rained out. So a day-night doubleheader, you don't really see that often, Ryan, where a day-night doubleheader, typically the second game or the first game gets rained out, so you have to play another day-night doubleheader the next game after, and they finally get both games in. Red Sox won the first one after being down 5-2. Rafael Devers, another walk-off hit, walk-off single, and then they lose 2-1, of course, last night because it's the Red Sox for you. They're going to score a shit ton of runs against the Orioles the first couple games, and they couldn't hit a 5 ERA Trevor Rogers last night. But Marcelo Meyer, who I think I've talked about quite a bit on here, one of our top prospects, has arrived. He finally came back. Of course, it was more specifically because of the Alex Bregman injury, but he went and had his debut last night. Of course, there's a standing ovation for Meyer. Unfortunately, he went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. He did put the ball in play his last at bat. So hopefully on the day of today's recording, Meyer can, get his first hit and, we can all celebrate and stuff. The Sox lose 2-1. So currently right now, the Red Sox have to finish it. They have to win this series. The Orioles are awful. And, you just want to kind of start. You're going to be about, 5-5, I think, if they lose today. So that kind of feels like a mid type of team. You just don't want that before you go on to the road trip. The Memorial Day afternoon matinee with the Brewers. They go to Milwaukee. They haven't been in Milwaukee, I don't think, in a couple of years. And they go to Atlanta. So you're going to have to see Ronald Acuna Jr. next weekend, which is – I can't wait for that, I guess. Nuts. And then, of course, you got the Angels at home really quick. And then, Ryan, we play you guys. Mm-hmm. Finally. So that's my Red Sox report. They are currently a 500 type of team. They are still riding, I think, in second, though. Yep, they're still in second place. A half game up on Tampa Bay. Ryan, now I'll take it to your team report for the Yankees.
Okay, so the Yankees right now at the time of this recording are 31-20. Last week we were talking about how they were getting ready to face the Mets in the first half of the Subway Series at Yankee Stadium. The Yankees ended up taking 2 out of 3 from the Mets. That was their first Subway Series win in a while. It had been a couple of years since they actually won a series over the Mets, so that was nice to see. The Yankees won on Friday night by the score of 6-2. And Juan Soto obviously made his return to Yankee Stadium that night, and he was greeted by a thunderous applause and flowers and roses and chocolates.
Oh yeah.
I hope everybody got my sarcasm there, for the love of God. Yes. Soto got greeted the way we all expected him to be greeted. Boos, curses, people, the fans in the bleacher creatures turning their backs on him when he took right field.
Yep.
Pretty funny. Soto, I think, handled it pretty well. He tipped his cap to the fans on the first night. And I don't know if that was a way to say thanks or as a way to say, hey, you don't bother me, or maybe a combination of both. I do legitimately think Soto enjoyed his time as a Yankee. I really do. Soto was the big topic all weekend, understandably so. So the Yankees took the first game. They dropped a tough one on Saturday by the score of 3-2. Clark Schmidt got off to a good start in that game, but then fell apart in the fourth inning. He was walking a bunch of guys, and the Mets eventually won the game thanks in part to a sacrifice fly by Francisco Lindor in the 8th of the 9th inning. And the game ended pretty dramatically with Edwin Diaz blowing a fastball right by the bat of Aaron Judge, and the Mets won that game. And then Sunday Night Baseball rolls around, and the Yankees won that game by a score of 8-2. It was actually pretty close, neck and neck for most of the game until the bottom of the 8th inning when the Yankees erupted. Yorbit Vivas put together a tremendous at-bat against Ryan Stanek in the bottom of the 8th inning. I mean, Stanek was just throwing gas, consistently hitting 100 to 103 miles an hour with each pitch. But Vivas, for as young as he is, and he's barely been up in the big leagues he's only been here for about a month now. He kept making contact. I mean, all of the Yankee fans were just praying for a sac fly. And
put him in play.
Well, he put the ball in play, and as soon as he hit the ball, I'm like, crap, that's going to be an out at home play because it was hit right to Pete Alonso at first base. But Alonso threw the ball away from Alvarez. And
the yips.
You got the yips. A little trip down memory lane for Met fans with Lucas Studa throwing into home plate in the final game of the 15 World Series against Kansas City. So that allowed Alonso airmail to throw home. That allowed Jason Dominguez to score the go-ahead run. The Yankees added on from there. RBI single by Paul Goldschmidt, and then a grand slam by Cody Bellinger, an ultimate porch job of a grand slam to right field. Probably wouldn't have gone out of any other stadium, maybe other than Cincinnati. I think it was one of 3 stadiums that ball would have gone out of. I think it was Yankee Stadium, Cincinnati, and I think Seattle, actually. Seattle's pretty short down the right field line. And then the Yankees won that game 8-2, like I mentioned. They took 2 out of 3 from the Mets, got to shut the Met fans up for a little bit, which was very nice to see. Then the Yankees welcomed in the Texas Rangers to town for a 3-game set. The Rangers have been just abysmal this year. Their pitching has been pretty solid, but their hitting has just been god awful. So the first game rolls around. I forget the score off the top of my head, but the Yankees take the first game of that series. I forget. I got to double check that score.
I'm checking it right now for you. They won 5-2.
5-2. I was thinking that was
Tuesday. Yep.
That was So the Yankees took the first game 5-2. Then in the second game of that series, the Yankees won in dramatic fashion. Jason Dominguez with a walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th inning. It was the Yankees' first walk-off home run since Giancarlo Stanton hit that grand slam against the Pirates in
September
22.
That's insane.
That was the game Aaron Judge hit his 60th home run. It's been that long since the Yankees have had a walk-off home run. And Dominguez finally ended that streak, hitting a bomb of a walk-off home run into the right field second deck. The Yankees took that game from the Rangers 4-3. It was a really, really good game from the Yankees. And then in Thursday's finale against Texas, the Yankees had a tough matchup. They faced Nathan Eovaldi, who they've always had a problem with. With each time we see Nathan Eovaldi, I just get more and more angry that the Yankees let him go. I
feel the same with my team, so we're kind of even.
Yeah, but you guys got a ring out of him. We didn't. So
True.
So the Yankees had a tough task ahead. But Yorbit Vivas hit his first career home run off Nathan Eovaldi. Again, another porch job. Barely got out of the stadium. I think it may have gone 4 rows deep. But regardless, it counts. It's Yankee Stadium. Tough shit. And the Yankees took a 1-0 lead, and that was the final score. Carlos Rodon was phenomenal. And the Yankees go 5-1 on their homestand. So it was a great homestand for the Yankees. And they are currently right back out west for another road trip. They were just out west 2 weeks ago, and now here we are back out west. Could you at least spread these series out just a little bit, please? I mean, come on. I mean, I guess you can look at it one way. You get the West Coast done with. So at least you get these West Coast games done with. So yes, the Yankees are out west again, and they are currently in a series against the pitiful Rockies. And the Rockies, I guess, probably heard me bashing them over the past couple of episodes, calling them a poverty franchise, a clown show, criticizing them, saying how they have no hope in sight. They, in the words of Michael Jordan, they probably took that personally. Somebody must have shown them what I had to say about them because they beat the Yankees on Friday night.
I shouldn't be laughing. We lost our first series to the White Sox.
Of course. Of course. The Rockies played their best game of the season against the Yankees on Friday night, winning by a score of 3-2. I was infuriated and embarrassed, but not surprised at the same time because the Yankees typically do this. They typically make the worst team imaginable look great. And, I mean, this wasn't they didn't get clobbered like they did against the White Sox last year. I mean, that was egregious. But still, I mean, the Rockies came into that game with 8 freaking wins on the season, and the Yankees couldn't hit them. And
the pitcher for them, Tanner Gordon. I have not heard this guy's name in ever at all. I don't. He went 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. A guy with a 4+ ERA. As you know, with the Yankees, though, Ryan, they make basically scrubs look like Tom Seaver.
Yep, and that's exactly what happened. They made them look amazing. The Rockies, I think, played only their 4th or 5th errorless game of the season.
Oh, my God.
So they turned into a Gold Glove caliber team. Of course they do, against the Yankees. And like I said, the Rockies took game 1, 3-2. It was a terrible game for the Yankees. Thankfully, they unleashed all their embarrassment and frustration against Kyle Freeland yesterday.
Yeah.
Beat the piss out of him. And the Rockies showed who they truly were yesterday with an embarrassment. The 5th inning was something else. The Yankees put up a 10 spot in the 5th inning. Kyle Freeland made an embarrassing-looking error.
I heard, Ryan, I don't know if you saw this. My brother actually showed me this, that there was a base that the Yankees had, and the second baseman for the Rockies apparently threw his
glove up in the air.
Like, you cannot make that up. Is that a real baseball team?
Well, I was thinking to myself, this is the team that beat us on Friday.
Wow.
So, yes, Yankees murdered the Rockies 13-1. Mm-hmm. If only they could have saved some of those runs for Friday. Then they would have won that game. But, yes, Yankees won yesterday. They got the rubber game. Max Fried, by the way, pitched yesterday. He continues his Cy Young caliber season.
Yeah, Fried and Rodon. I've really scared you guys.
They've really been great. The 2 of them have been a dynamic 1-2 punch for the Yankees this year. Yeah. So, yes, Yankees have a chance to win the series against the Rockies today. Please do. Please do not lose the series to the Rockies, for the love of God. Because if you do, I will be back here in the next episode venting my wrath. And just
I don't want this. I want to pray for your overall human health, Ron. So
there should be no reason for like I said, there should have been no reason for this team to have beaten you in the first place. Yeah. There was no freaking reason. So yes, Yankees finishing up this series today against the Rockies this afternoon. I believe they have Will Warren going for them today.
Yep. Against a 1-8 pitcher, Antonio Santasella.
Yes. Please light this guy up like a Christmas tree. Please do. And Will, you're facing the worst team in baseball. For the love of God, I understand it's Coors Field and it's not the easiest place to pitch in, but these guys could barely hit a beach ball. So just pitch. That's all I ask. And then after this series, the Yankees go to Anaheim for 3 games, and then next weekend, World Series rematch against the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium.
That should be exciting.
Yep.
Really quick, though, who is hot, who is not, before we conclude today's program, as we always do. My who is hot is 2 guys, AL and NL, Rafael Devers. Rafael Devers had a walk-off homer this past week and a walk-off single. Rafi has completely turned his season around, and deservedly so. And I don't think I've given Rafi any flowers yet on this overall program, so I'm going to today. He's been absolutely going crazy. And I think he's actually up there now for RBIs. I think he is at least close enough to that. Yeah, no, he's right now leading RBIs, Ryan. Rafael Devers, after having a horrific stretch. Right now, currently, as the day of this recording, Devers has a 297 average, a 412 OBP, a 550 slug, which currently is actually a lot higher than he had it last year. 962 OPS, so a lot higher than he had last year. And he has 12 homers. So obviously a lot better than what he's had gone. Now with the absence of Alex Bregman, it just pretty much adds more of the element to Rafi, and I trust him. That's just all about can the other guys around him, especially with the absence of Bregman. Another guy, Ryan. How about this guy, Pete Crow Armstrong from the Cubs? Got to give this guy some flowers. I talk about this guy. He actually, if you ever played backyard baseball, Ryan, the Pete from backyard baseball looks exactly like this guy. But that's another story for another day. Armstrong right now has a 283 average, a 580 slug, a 894 OPS, and 14 home runs. He's really just been a great mainstay for the Cubs and very, very consistent. My who is not, Ryan, I'll take it to you because I always struggle with this one. So start with who's hot, who's not.
Okay, so for who's not, I'm going to go Will Smith, catcher from the Los Angeles Dodgers.
That's another one I had.
He has been raking at the plate recently. He currently is sporting a 336 batting average, which is unheard of for a catcher these days. Absolutely ridiculous. And he's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game hitting streak. He has hit safely in 8 out of his last 9 games. And the Dodgers, are the Dodgers. And he is just joining he's just joining Ohtani and Freeman and just annihilating baseballs. He's kind of picking up a little bit for Mookie. Mookie's kind of off to kind of a slow start this year, but he's been tremendous for the Dodgers. So yeah, Will Smith is for me who is hot, and for who is not, I just saw this guy at Yankee Stadium last week, and he has just been absolutely god awful this
season. I know who you're talking about.
Marcus Semien. Rangers. Oh my God. 175. 175 on the year with just 3 home runs and 18 runs batted in. This is just, I think Simeon's, I always thought Semien was good. I never thought he was great, but to see him struggling like this. He's kind of symbolic of the Rangers as a team on offense this year. Just a guy who has just never been able to get his back going. So Marcus Semien is who's not for me.
I had a who's not ready to go, and I'm trying to remember. You know what? And I'm not really saying it's a really bad thing for him. He's just kind of been a little bit off to a sluggish start than I expected. And you might be surprised about this one. Elly De La Cruz is my who's not for this week. And you might be saying, really? Well, why, Ben, would you asking to say about Elly De La Cruz? De La Cruz, Ryan, going into Memorial Day, has only 9 home runs, which is kind of surprising. Like, you'd feel like De La Cruz would probably be in the high 17, 18 range at this point in time. He has a 248 average, so not awful. He has a 739 OPS, and he has no triples yet in the season, which is very, very surprising. He had 10 triples last year. He has 51 hits, so not awful there. He's only had 21 walks. So, and he's had 17 stolen bases. I'm going to go Elly De La Cruz for my who is not. And that's obviously not a knock on Elly, because I like Elly, and I think that this is going to be kind of one where I'll probably be like, yep, it makes sense. He's going to be going crazy within the next couple weeks. But just because he's had a kind of a slow start. And my also who is not, the Baltimore Orioles. That team sucks. Well, we finished off with the Orioles. We started with the Orioles. We finished off with the Orioles. But we're out of time, Ryan. Thank you guys for watching Hitting for the Cycle, episode 70. As usual, guys, make sure to follow us on all of our socials. Of course, down in the ticker bar down below. And, of course, you guys can follow us on Hitting for all of our podcasts on HFCTETB and just all the places where you guys can find us. So we'll see you guys next week for episode 71. Until next time, we'll see you guys there.